cold rain hammered the city streets as people rushed past the glowing windows of the most expensive restaurant downtown, and right outside the entrance, a homeless man stood trembling in soaked clothes, staring at a family eating dinner through the glass. What happened next would silence the entire restaurant. Marcus hadn't eaten in 2 days. His beard was messy, his hoodie torn, and his shoes were barely holding together. People avoided eye contact as if he didn't exist. But Marcus wasn't dangerous, he was just tired of sleeping under bridges, tired of being invisible, tired of hearing people whisper words like lazy, bum, and worthless. The freezing wind cut through his clothes as he wrapped his arms around himself and looked at the restaurant sign, Le Blanc. The kind of place where one meal cost more than he could make in a month. Marcus stared for a moment longer before slowly turning away, but then, the restaurant door opened. Warm air rushed outside carrying the smell of steak and fresh bread. A little girl stepped out holding her mother's hand. She couldn't have been older than 8. She looked directly at Marcus, not with fear, not disgust, just curiosity. Mom, she whispered softly, is he okay? The mother immediately pulled her daughter closer. Don't stare, Emily. Marcus lowered his eyes, he was used to that reaction. But before they walked away, Emily suddenly slipped free from her mother's grip and ran back toward the restaurant entrance. A moment later, she returned carrying a small bread roll wrapped in a napkin. She held it out with both hands. You can have mine. Marcus froze. For a second, he couldn't speak, then slowly, he accepted it. Thank you, he whispered. Emily smiled, but before another word could be said, a loud voice exploded behind them. Hey! You can't stand here. The restaurant manager stormed outside wearing a black suit and an angry expression. People inside turned to watch through the glass windows. You're bothering customers, the manager snapped. Move along. Now. Marcus immediately stepped backward. I'm sorry. I was leaving. But the manager wasn't done. You people always hang around here begging for attention. This is a high-class restaurant. The little girl looked shocked. Mom. Why is he yelling? Several customers near the entrance started laughing quietly. One man pulled out his phone to record. Marcus felt every eye on him. Humiliation burned through his chest. He nodded once and turned to leave into the rain, and that should have been the end of it, but then a black luxury car pulled up beside the curb. The entire valet staff straightened instantly. The manager's face changed completely. Oh my goodness, he muttered. He's here. The driver stepped out first, then the rear door opened. An older man in an elegant dark coat slowly emerged from the car, silver hair, sharp eyes, calm presence. Everyone recognized him immediately, Richard Callaway. The billionaire owner of a massive tech company worth hundreds of millions. The same man the restaurant had been desperately trying to impress for months. The manager rushed forward with a huge smile. Mr. Callaway. Welcome to Le Blanc. We're honored to have you tonight. But Richard didn't answer. He wasn't looking at the restaurant. He wasn't looking at the manager. He was staring at Marcus, completely frozen. The rain poured harder as silence spread. Across the sidewalk, Marcus slowly looked up. Their eyes met. And suddenly, Richard's face went pale. No way. He whispered. The manager laughed nervously. Don't worry, sir. We were just removing this homeless guy from the entrance. Richard turned slowly. What did you say? The smile disappeared from the manager's face. I said we were handling the situation. Richard stepped past him, straight toward Marcus. The crowd fell silent. Even the people recording lowered their phones. Marcus looked confused. Richard stopped inches away from him, staring into his face as if seeing a ghost from the past. Then, to everyone's shock, the billionaire's eyes filled with tears. Marcus? Marcus blinked. Richard? The manager looked completely lost. You two know each other? Richard ignored him. 10 years earlier, Marcus and Richard had worked together at a tiny startup company in a cramped garage office. Back when nobody believed in them, back when they were broke, Marcus had been Richard's closest friend, the one person who stayed when investors walked away, the one who encouraged him not to give up. But then tragedy struck. A drunk driver crashed into Marcus's car one night. His wife died instantly. Marcus lost everything after that. depression consumed him, bills piled up. He disappeared from everyone's life. Richard searched for him for years, but he never found him, until now, standing in the rain outside a restaurant that had just humiliated him. Richard's voice shook. "My God. I thought you were dead." Marcus looked away, embarrassed. Life happened. Without hesitation, Richard removed his expensive coat and placed it over Marcus's shoulders. Gasps spread through the crowd. The same customers laughing moments earlier now stared in complete silence. Then Richard turned toward the restaurant manager. And his expression changed instantly, cold, controlled, furious. "You threw him out?" The manager stuttered. "Sir, we didn't know." Richard cut him off sharply. "No. You knew exactly what you were doing." The entire entrance fell silent. Richard pointed toward Marcus. "This man once gave me $50 when I had nothing left in my bank account." He looked around at the customers watching. "You see dirty clothes. I see the man who helped build my future." The little girl Emily smiled softly from beside her mother, but the manager looked terrified. Richard continued, "And tonight, while all of you sat, comfortably eating expensive meals, an 8-year-old child was the only person here who showed kindness. Nobody could even look him in the eyes." Then Richard did something nobody expected. He turned to Marcus. "Come have dinner with me." Marcus hesitated. People were still staring. "I don't belong in there." Richard placed a hand on his shoulder. "You belong anywhere you want." For the first time in years, Marcus smiled. The two men walked toward the restaurant entrance together. But just before entering, Richard stopped. He turned back toward the manager one final time. "By the way." His voice became ice cold. "I just bought this restaurant yesterday." The manager's face drained of color. "And you're fired." Inside the restaurant, nobody spoke, not a single sound, as Marcus walked through the dining room beside Richard. The same people who mocked him moments earlier lowered their heads in shame, but Marcus wasn't focused on them anymore. For the first time in years, someone saw him again, not as a homeless man, not as a burden, but as a human being. Later that night, after dinner ended, Richard handed Marcus a small envelope. Inside was a key. To what? Marcus asked quietly. Richard smiled. "Your new apartment." Marcus stared at him speechless, but Richard wasn't finished. "There's also a job waiting for you at my company, if you want it." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. After years of darkness, hope had finally found him again, and outside the restaurant window, the rain finally stopped, because sometimes, the person everyone looks down on is the very person who once lifted someone else up. And sometimes, one act of kindness can change a life forever. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember this story, because you never truly know who a person is until it's too late.